Jaxwell here. I am your rad nerd dad, and I'm here to tell you a little bit about how I got started and the tips that I want to share that I've learned along the way. Before we get started, I just want to give you a little bit of background about who I am. So, I am a father. I have two amazing boys. Um, I am a former veteran in the United States Air Force, and I have been gaming for the last 21 years of my life now, ever since way back in the day when I bought, I'm going to date myself here, a gateway PC from Radio Shack. I'm not even joking. Like, one, I don't even think Radio Shacks exist anymore. And two, I'm not even certain gateway PCs still exist anymore. But I did get that, and I remember the first game that I ever bought was the Icewind Dale trilogy, and that was kind of like my first foray into video games. And so, I have read all of the books, the Dragonlance Chronicles, Robert Jordan, Terry Goodkind, all of those. So super into sci-fi and fantasy already. Video games just took that to the next level, and so here I am, 21 years later, and um, a huge fan of MMOs, all the way from EverQuest, you name it. I've tried just about everything, but I've stuck with World of Warcraft to from alpha to its present date. Currently playing WoW Classic and Project Ascension. So those are kind of my credentials, but I wanted to start streaming. One, obviously, why everybody does is that, it'd be nice to be able to make money doing the thing that you really enjoy. But at the same time, I am a marketer by trade, and so this was a great way for me to kind of hone my skills and learn something new, which is video editing and streaming and how those platforms work together, so that I might be able to use this in my business. So, if you ever do need somebody who is a content marketer, social media expert, go to geekdadmedia.com and hit me up. Okay, so let's get started. So, we're talking about our 5 helpful tips for new streamers. These are things that I have picked up and just kind of wrote along the way, just kind of learned, and I wanted to pass along some of the information that um, I at least thought was useful. And so I've broken it down into 5 categories. It's your equipment, which is the hardware that you're going to be using, your tools and software, the content, knowing your W's, and we'll get into that in just a minute, and then marketing collaboration. And so the last two are the things that I have built a career around and researched and have done a lot of work for companies, help them get better at doing their content marketing. But the first few are things that I've just kind of picked up on my own research. So hopefully it's helpful for you guys. So the first thing is your equipment. So I wanted to break it down. When you're a new streamer, especially in my situation, you're not making any money doing this whatsoever. So you want to be able to be streaming on as best of a budget as possible. Now, obviously, the biggest sink into that is going to be your PC. The PC, there are some minimum specifications for the PC. Some of the recommended specs that you'll see are kind of right here on the screen. You can do this with an i5. Obviously, an i7 is better just because of the way that the technology works with the hyperthreading. You can do more things with the processor than you can with the i5. Obviously, you want some form of a dedicated graphics card, not an integrated graphics card. At least 8 gigs of memory or better, and a solid state drive. Now, 128 gigs is not a whole lot of drive space, especially for games these days. Like the World of Warcraft retail version, I think is almost at like 100 gigs right now. And so if you throw a classic on that, that's another like 15 or 20 gigs. And so you're talking about your entire disk space would be just one video game. So you're going to need at least a 256. More than likely, you'll want a 512 with some sort of expandable drive, like a terabyte hard drive that you can store things on. But just know that the SSD is what you're going to want to have, so that your game will actually load up quicker. It'll give you better response time. And then as far as the motherboard, like, I mean, all of these things are just, if you want to get down in the weeds and actually build your own PC, great. But there are a lot of brands out there that make gaming PCs from Dell, HP, Lenovo. Then you got the people that have kind of done it on their own, like MSI and Rogue. And so, like, there's a lot of opportunities for you to buy something decent at an affordable price. And you're probably going to spend in the range of $1,000. So if you don't have one already, which for me, I've been gaming on my PC now for 3 or 4 years, so it works fine for what I'm doing right now. I have a feeling that if I was playing a different game like Call of Duty or like a high FPS game, then I would probably need to upgrade my computer. But luckily, I'm playing World of Warcraft, so I'm pretty good on that. I put it in a little bit of a lower resolution so that I can maintain a good performance while also still looking nice, and then also be able to do all of the things that I need on my PC. Now, I do have a second PC where I monitor different things on the internet, and I solely use this when I am streaming. I kill all my processes. I only have my music going, OBS, and the game that I'm playing, and nothing else. The other thing too is there are some tweaks that you can do in the software. So if you look up any sort of videos about tweaking OBS and your streaming performance, there's a lot of things out there. I follow Alpha Gaming, Hairstyle and the Crew. I've been following him since I've started this journey, and they do a really great job of explaining the how and the why, which is really nice. So next on the list is the mic. Now, for the longest time, I had like a Jabra headset that I had from work, which is actually a really nice headset, but I just don't like it for streaming because it's something on my head. I have to take it off, and if I ever need to walk around or anything like that, because you are sitting in one place for an extended period of time. So I wanted to get some form of a nice condenser mic, and so as you can see right here. This is my condenser mic. It actually came as a package with this right here, and but it did come as a package. It's from a company called Xingyu, and I did a lot of reviews on it, and you can get it off of Amazon for like $40. I'll put links in the description below so that you can see. Excuse me for 1 second. Go Lakers. So the biggest thing with the condenser mics that I've actually seen, opposed to just like something like this, where if you're using like your iPhone or a webcam, is that the range of sounds that you can and cannot pick up. And so what I mean by that is that with like so the mic has this I don't know the technical term for it. I'm not an audio guy, but this fluffy little piece of cotton, styrofoam, whatever it is. Basically, what it does is it captures your voice and it blocks some other things around it. And then the thing with the condenser mics is that it has a side that you actually speak into, so that you don't have to capture all of the noise in the background right here. So again, I'm not an audio guy, but from the research that I've done, condenser mics are the way to go. Plus, it gives you a freedom that when you're streaming, you don't have anything connected to you. You can talk, and it's right there, and it actually does sound really good. So that's my take on that. I know it's not quite in depth as a lot of these other videos are, but this is what I've learned in just my short time of trying to set up what I know as a new streamer. The other thing that I've learned is lighting. So lighting is important, and you can't really tell, but I'll show you here and just turn off my. So that's no lighting except for the little red light in the back there that I got for my bookshelf. Um, so I'll show you real quick. So I have a desk lamp that shines on my wall that gives it where the lighting shoots up and over me. And so what that does is it helps cast more of a shadow behind me as opposed to like right in front of my face or just all over the place. And then I also have, and you'll see just kind of like the subtle, like how it works right here with the ring light for my webcam and how it brightens the tones in my face. So that's pointing directly at me. It's not quite as bright as the desk lamp that's lighting the wall right in front of me, and it just creates a better atmosphere. Now it does drown out some of the lighting for around my bookshelf, but that's for pure aesthetics. That's just so that I can add a little bit of color into my background. And the cool thing about it is, if I'm in the mood, I can go blue or purple. Well, it's kind of hard to tell that's purple, but yeah. Or let's see, green. There you go. Just a little kind of cool thing that I like to do there. And then the last thing is your webcam. Now I'm just using just your standard. You look up Logitech webcam on Amazon, you'll get right to just a number of them. But basically all you need is just one that has 1080p and it'll work fine. The biggest thing that I've noticed, and watching a lot of videos and being subscribed to a bunch of streamers that I enjoy watching, that I actually will watch the streamers longer that have better sound quality rather than video quality. And so like a lot of times when I'm watching the YouTube videos, I'm not really there for the video quality per se. As long as I can see what the video is and I can get an idea of what it is, the sound quality is what really grasps my attention. And so I think that being able to hear that what you're streaming and being able to hear your voice is much better. Those are just my thoughts. I think I'll probably have some follow-up videos to this to get more specific with some of the equipment that I've used, and just so that I can get an idea. I'm still tweaking things, so I don't want to make like a setup video just yet because I want to get that good quality of like what I'm doing. And also, to be perfectly honest, I'm learning everything as I go right now. So, full transparency, I am brand new with 6 subscribers. So, shout out to all of my subscribers. I appreciate that you have taken the time to like what I do. I hope to have more. Wink, wink. The link in the description and like and subscribe and all that. In summary, so we'll take a look at this list right here where we got. This is everything that you need to get started, and for basically just over $1,000, you could have a really decent setup for starting your streaming career. And that'll get you to the point where you can not put a ton of money into what you want to do in case, to be honest, maybe it doesn't work out, maybe you get burnt out. Maybe this is something that you figured that you thought you wanted and you don't, but this way it gives you a low barrier of entry to start doing what you think you want to do. And then once you start getting like monetized and things like that, or even if you start getting sponsorships, maybe they'll work to get you some nicer equipment. So that's part of just some of the stuff that I'll talk about later on. But I think it's a great way to start. Now, the second part of this is the tools, and so by tools I mean the software that you're going to be using. First and foremost, OBS. Now I've tried Stream Elements, I've tried Streamlabs, and I've tried the Twitch like in studio thing. I forget what they called it. I've actually decided that I'm going to put all of my effort into YouTube and streaming on YouTube. So I don't know as much about Twitch as I do about YouTube streaming. Um, and I'll talk a little bit about like what platform that you want to use. And so, but first and foremost, the OBS direct download, not like Streamlabs OBS or anything like that, but just the generic OBS Studio or OBS is the one that you'll want to do. Like for me personally, that is the best setup, especially if you're going for this budget PC setup, because it uses the least amount of resources. And so it's really easy to set up, really easy to use. And one of the things that I've done, where, and let me see if I can show you here. So Stream Elements, just to show you, like I have quite a bit of stuff done with Stream Elements. I started using this because I didn't know a lot about making overlays and things like that. And so I used what they were doing as kind of like a guide and, getting me familiarized with what tools are available. And so you have like all of these overlays and alerts and widgets. And I still use a bunch of stuff from Stream Elements. And these are just some of the things that I've played around with. But one of the things that I've actually done is that this allowed me to get comfortable with the software enough to where I started making my own overlays. And so, but still with that, it does help that have something like Stream Elements, just so that you can do things like this where they have like a social media rotator already built so that you don't have to do it. So if you look at my my stream right now below my webcam, it's rotating all of my different social media platforms. And then there's also an animated alert widget. So I think it's this one here, alpha rotating feed. And that just goes through and everybody who subscribes and donates, things like that on my stream will get that overlay and it'll show on the stream. And so, and it's really easy to do is that when you go in here, you copy the URL and then you just pop it into OBS and you create a browser and then you're good to go. So super easy to do, and just play around with the tools that you have available to you, especially because these are free. Now there are some that are like a little bit more advanced and they're for like really big users, and you're not going to be, it's going to be overkill for you for right now. So next is the streaming platform for you. Now Twitch does have a lot of these things already built into the platform, as far as like being able to create overlays and widgets and things like that. And it just seems like it's a little bit easier, and there's also more ways for people to pay you as a streamer. But in the long run, I feel like YouTube is an emerging platform. Uh, YouTube's been around for a while, and they're ridiculously huge. But then to say that they're an emerging platform, they're an emerging platform in the world of streaming, and they're doing a lot of improvements to the platform already that are making it to where it's a viable competitor to Twitch. And I think in the coming months, you'll see them implement more and more ways for people to donate and help you subscribe and monetize your stream like Twitch does, and with the added benefit of having probably the world's best search algorithm. And so that's huge. And so if you have a background like mine where you know SEO, you can actually do your own work to make your videos become more viewed just by knowing the YouTube algorithm. So the biggest key to this is just being able to stick around long enough to where you get enough people who notice you and they start that curve to where you can hit their partnership requirements. So the third piece of software that I want to talk about that has actually become more and more part of my streams, and I freaking love it, is Streambeats. So Streambeats is, haven't noticed. So there's a lot of buzz around right now about people getting, like, you can get demonetized for copyright, and so like if you can't play like a Metallica song on your stream and then post it to the public and try to monetize it, YouTube will catch that and they'll be like, nope, this violates our copyright laws. And so what the folks at Alpha Gaming have done, they've created a bank of copyright free music, and for the most part it's mostly instrumental stuff, but you can see that they have a lot of different genres out there, and some of it is like they do have voice and stuff like that. I'm a big fan of the hip hop albums. That they have, a Spotify, Apple, Amazon, playlists that you can do. What I actually do is I go down here and I've downloaded a bunch of their tracks. And what that does is that I play through Windows Media Player so that I can get the audio straight from my PC. It allows me to stream at a little bit less of a hindrance to my PC, but what that does is that it just gives me some little bit of background, um, you know, like the vibe just seems better, um, it's something that I really enjoy, and I'll show you right here. This is what I mean. So you're still listening to me, you're still hearing me talk, but in the background, I now have some music. And so when you're hearing me, doesn't it sound a little better? It sounds like, oh, you're talking, but there's some sort of like flow to this now, and it sounds a little better. So that's what I like. If you put in the comments if you like videos like this where they have music playing in the background, let me know. That is something that I'm always interested in knowing. I do a lot of my streams with stream beats playing in the background, and then just in general, it's nice as a streamer just to have that little bit of beat going on so you can bob your head, know that people are listening. So that's that. And then the other thing, got two more here. I probably should have put DaVinci Resolve up one more here to 4 instead of 5. I'll talk about that one first. Look here, DaVinci Resolve. So DaVinci Resolve is free. It is a professional editing software, and it works great, but it does have it has a pretty steep learning curve if you've never used video editing software ever. There's a lot of things that that you need to learn about it, and I'm still, again, I feel like I'm a novice, even though I've put together a few videos already. But what it does, and I'll be editing this video in DaVinci Resolve. Um, what it does is it gives you the look, the feel, and the power of an Adobe product without having to pay for it. And so I don't know how they do it, but they've managed to make probably one of the best editing softwares I've seen out right now. So definitely put that into your toolbox. You're gonna need it, gonna use it. And then last but not least, Canva. So Canva is very near and dear to my heart. I use it every single day. This is something that, if you can tell, like I've done a lot of design work with this already. And this is actually how I do a lot of my content, not just for myself, but for a lot of businesses that I work with. Canva, it just makes it super easy for you to create designs. Let's say if you want to create like a logo or whatever, it pops it up right here. You have all these different elements that you can choose from. You have different uploaded pieces. There's so many tools that you can do. It can remove backgrounds on images. It can help you filter and color pictures, and it can help you create really just these really cool landscape images for things like your YouTube thumbnails, or a piece of content for your social media posts, or really just about anything. It can even generate MP4s for your intros and outros, things like that. So it's a very powerful tool. The free version is good, and it's very usable if you don't have the money to spend on that. But it does come with a caveat: is that most of the elements that you see here, including like photos, all your text, they are gated behind a subscription, and the subscription is $9.99 a month. Um, well worth it though, in my opinion. Um, if you don't want to do the subscription, you can buy these items for like a one-time $1 cost. But once you buy them, then you have to rebuy it. So um, that's why I would probably recommend just going with the paid version of it, and it would only cost you $60 in the year. And so if you want to get started and you want to do it on a budget, um, this right here, these two will help you get started. And again, I'll put links in the description below for all of the different equipment pieces so that you have an idea of what I'm going to be using or what I am using right now. And last thing is that you're going to be spending about 180, almost $1,200 full board to get started. And I don't think that's a very large cost. If you think about it, $100 a month. Most of us have car payments that are double or triple or that. And if this is something that you want to do every day, I think that's a relatively low cost to start. If you're going to be doing this every day, this is something that you love, you gotta have to invest a little bit of your time and your money to get started. So last three categories that we have here are content, know your W's, and marketing collaboration. So content. As a content marketer, I am constantly jotting things down on my notepad on my iPhone. Um, and part of that is just because I don't have the best memory, and oftentimes I am inspired uh, by random ass stuff. Like, oh, that would be an excellent meme, or that would be a cool piece of content, or oh, that would be a sweet blog post. And so, um, writing down just makes it easier for me to refer back and actually create the content that I want to create. But the other thing too is that um, it gets you in the mode of actually doing the writing. And what I mean by that is that like there is a lot of um, prep work that has to be done while while you're in the background of like before and after your stream. And a lot of that is just managing like the different topics that you want to talk about, or maybe you have an idea that you want to share, or maybe you're building a how-to video, something like that. Um, Generally, a lot of that comes with a certain level of scripting. And so you have to be able to write these down in a way that it makes sense to your audience, and then also makes it to where you can actually um, bring that to your audience in a way that it makes sense to yourself as well. Um, and that's why I just it's easy for me to write, but having a plan, writing it down, and executing the plan, it'll make for better content, and it'll make for um, uh, an easier time of just actually producing content. So speaking of content, we're talking about getting specific with your content. So there is broad long form content that covers just a very generic like space. So gaming, for instance, there's a lot of games and there's a lot of different types of gaming. You could be um, gaming as a first person shooter. You could be FIFA. You could be NBA 2K. You could be an MMO gamer. You could be And so, like, the whole thing is that you want to be able to get as specific as possible with the types of content that you want to produce. So for me, my channel, I go by the name of Jaxwell, and that's the character that I use in a lot of my MMOs. And then I also have the moniker of Rad Nerd Dad. And so everything that I do is based off of that specific um, moniker and what I think is rad, nerdy, or being a dad. Now, those are generalized, but what I do is that I take those three pieces um, and I make specific content with them. And so, what I think is rad are World of Warcraft and Project Ascension. So, I make videos about that. What I think is nerdy are things like this, reviewing and doing tips and tricks for gaming software and getting started as a streamer. So that's a specific area within a big genre. And then being a dad. And so for me, um, it's learning about being a boy dad. And so I have two boys. I don't have any girls, so I don't talk about that. What I do talk about is having boys and also my son, who is on the spectrum for autism, allows me to have a little bit deeper conversations within another niche. Generally, it will be specific enough so that you can produce the kind of videos that you want. And in the end, when you're producing content for topics that you actually enjoy, it's going to come out much better, and people would be able to feel the love and the 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 effort that you put into it because they can feel you behind that content. The last part about that is just research. There's a lot of things that you can do to research. There's actually a plugin that I use called TubeBuddy, and again, I'll put the link in the description here. But what TubeBuddy does is that it helps you kind of narrow down and define those topics by using um, search engine optimization tools to be able to find keywords and specific topics. And so it does a really great job of, if you have an idea, run it through TubeBuddy and see how that topic is doing. You can also use just the standard Google search. It's a little bit more of a manual process, and they don't have the good cool interface that TubeBuddy does, but you can do it on your own if you want. But that, and then just researching other people who are like you. And so you can get a lot of information off of different content creators and just see what seems to be working for them, and see if that's something that can work for you as well. So, now, here's a big one that actually a lot of my work outside of streaming happens to be in, and it's knowing your W's. And so the W's is why, what, and when. And those are, to me, those are the biggest things as an up and coming streamer. So why do you want to stream? Is it to monetize? Is it to be a hobby? Or is it because you want to be able to provide some sort of message to people who are watching? For me, generally, it is a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. I enjoy doing this. I've been doing it for 20 years now. I wish I would have gotten started a lot sooner. But as life is what it is, I have the availability now, and so that's why I decided to start. Um, and then also, obviously, I would love to monetize. I'd love to become a partner. And so by hopefully producing content that is, um, you know, likable and people will watch it and enjoy it. I think it's something that I will continue to enjoy to do, and hopefully over the course of time, it's something that I can make some money off of. Um, and what are your goals? So understanding that you should have, when you're talking about your goals, you should have some immediate goals, and immediate being 3 to 6 months, and then long-term goals, year plus. Whenever I talk to businesses about their goals, it's always twofold, because generally when you're talking to somebody who you, as a consultant, there's always something that they need help with in the immediate, but also that immediate help will lead to a problem that can be solved over the course of time. And so what happens is that let's say your immediate goal is to I want to make money as soon as possible. Well, let's talk about that. So to make money as soon as you possibly can, you have to become a partner. And to become a partner, you have to have um, 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours. So really, your immediate goal is to produce content. And so let's talk about how we produce content. And so that's why we talked about content first, is because content is what's going to get you discovered. Content is what's going to drive the algorithms. Content is what's going to give you those subscribers and those watch hours so that you can become a partner. And so what you have to do is you have to start thinking in those terms, is how much content can I produce? What type of content can I produce? And how can I produce it well enough to where it gets discovered? Then you can talk about, okay, what are your long-term goals? If becoming a partner is being a long-term goal, then let's talk about how many subscribers you want. There's I'll have to find the video, but there was a I think it was from Think Media. They actually laid out like the specific, it takes this many pieces of content to get this many view hours, and there's some math behind it, and subscribers and things like that. But they did a really good job of breaking down like what an average is of that, and like everybody's going to be different. Not everybody's going to break away right away. And from the research that I've done, at least, especially with new streamers, is that it's going to take about a year or so for you to actually get traction. And that's kind of the reason why I chose YouTube, and I'll talk about that in this next section here about SEO and the platform algorithms. Um, but before to get to that, just want to make sure that you understand the difference between short-term goals and long-term goals and how they work within each other. And then really, when can you apply time to your stream? Um, this is this is not something that you can just pick up and do. So there's two parts to this that I'm actually learning right now. Part of me wants to keep gaming and just play video games and do what I do, and but the other half of me is like, okay, well, as I play these video games, what kind of content can I produce off of them? And so that's something that I'm trying to find a balance between, which is pretty unique to me, because before I would just go, I'd log on to World of Warcraft, log on to Discord, and boom, start playing. But now I'm starting to think about like, okay, what am I going to do today? Oh, we've got a Gruul and Magtheridon layer raid. Okay, so I got to set up my stream. I'm going to be off tanking. What am I going to do for my thumbnail? How am I going to produce the content? What kind of music am I going to put in the background? And then once I'm done with the raid, uh, what am I going to do with I got to get the recording done. I got to apply the thumbnail, put it to YouTube, do some edits, and then push the video live. And so there's a few more elements to actually playing video games now as a streamer that you have to afford that time for. And so like if you're doing Gruul and Magtheridon, my guild, we generally finish in about an hour or so, and then you're talking about another hour or so if you're working well within enough of the tools that you have to post and edit those videos. And so you're essentially doubling the time that you need to actually game. And so that's something that I am learning to work within. It's a very weird and unique experience, but I think that it's getting better as I get better as a streamer. And so just understanding that being a gamer is very different than being a streamer. It's just a completely different mindset. So know your whys, or know your W's. Oh, know your W's. Now the last thing, marketing and collaboration. So here's the thing. So YouTube is essentially just a search engine, but it's a search engine for videos. And there are billions of people on YouTube. So, how do you get discovered? Discovered is done through SEO. And so there are a lot of things that you can do within your stream and your channel to be able to make yourself more discoverable. Um, the first part of that is just doing some SEO research on yourself, on your niche, and on your competitors. And so I would suggest going through those and finding the different types of keywords. Now, I mentioned this earlier too. TubeBuddy can help you with that. They have a really cool interface for their YouTube videos where you can, if you go to one of your favorite YouTubers and their channels and just pop open one of their videos, they'll show you the list of keywords that they use for their stream, and it will give you an idea of things that are working well for them, and then you can kind of generate your own sort of list that you want. Now, I have a running list of keywords for um, World of Warcraft Classic, Project Ascension, how-tos, and like text type videos. And so this is part of writing down everything. You're going to be utilizing those keywords, and then some of them don't work, swap them out and hit and use more different ones. Now, knowing your platform's algorithm. So if you go onto YouTube right now, and if you type in, well, right now, go to youtube.com, current YouTube algorithm 2021. All right, so we have a lot of videos out here talking about the YouTube algorithm, how to beat it, blah, blah, blah. So these are things that you'll see all throughout YouTube. Now, Think Media and vidIQ are two of the ones that I actually prefer listening to about the YouTube algorithm. I'll let you do a little bit of research on your own, but basically what you have to do is you have to understand how the YouTube software as a streamer, when you're posting to your channel, how that works with SEO. And so they basically go through and tell you a little bit about like how important it is to be able to, what is it, your cards at the end of videos, making sure that you're putting hashtags in your video description. Also, one of the new things that YouTube's doing is adding chapters, which you'll see in my video once it's done. It helps break down keywords within a specific video, and so people, if they're searching for, we have my top 5 list here, but let's say that they just want to know about tools and software. Well, when I do this, I'm going to actually make chapters for each of these. So if you see right here where I have all of my topics about tools, I'm going to add chapters for each of these within the YouTube description. And when somebody searches for best software for streaming and they're looking at OBS, I can link that as a chapter in my video, and it'll direct them specifically to that portion of the video. And so it's just a really neat way for your video to actually get several different types of, or several different ranges of keywords within the video itself. And so that's just part of like knowing the algorithm. They're constantly updating their system, so things are going to change. This is probably not going to be the same, or it'll be slightly different next year. I don't know. But yeah. And then the last part is, how are you engaging with your community? So there are, for me at least, there are a couple of different types of communities that I'm a part of. One is a dads only community where I talk to people who are a part of that, and we listen and talk and share stories, and it's all fun and games. And Hopefully that some of that bleeds over into my other content, because I'm sure that I'm not the only dad who loves games. Um, and then the other thing is part of the WoW and Project Ascension communities, and a lot of these now you'll start to see that getting through is as easy as getting their Discord link. Um, once you start engaging, it's really just about not so much talking about yourself, but sharing stories. And I mean, basically what you did in school when you're a kid. It's like, hey, I think you're cool. Let's talk. Do we share interests? Yes. Awesome. And so by doing that, you'll put yourself out there. Obviously, you're going to have a an avatar and a username and a profile and all that. And you'll get some chances for you to be able to tell people what it is that you do. I just wouldn't start with that. I wouldn't be that spam bot that says, "Here's my Twitch channel. Here's my Twitch channel. Go like it and subscribe," because I mean, that's dumb. Let's not do that. Now, the other part of engaging with your community is collaborating. And I think this is a big thing where a lot of people miss out on, is collaborating isn't just going and playing a game with somebody. It's actually collaborating on the content that you produce. Now, let's say you have a favorite um, type of hardware or a favorite software, and you want to talk about that software. Instead of just giving them some free pub, why not reach out to them and say, hey, here's my video on your software. I think it's really cool. Check it out. If you like it, sweet. If not, let me know. Give me some feedback. I please engage with my content. I will definitely respond, and just kind of give them that feeling that you genuinely care about the content that you're producing, and because you care, you are recommending their software to your viewers. Now, it's weird right now because if you're like me, you have 6 subscribers, you're nothing to a lot of these companies, but you can start that process early and start talking to these companies and start collaborating with them. And then eventually you'll be able to possibly get some sort of sponsorship and things like that. So that's what I got. These are my 5 helpful tips for new streamers. I hope this has been good for you. The video will be out fairly soon. I just got to do some edits, put out some clips of me doing some weird stuff and taking phone calls while I'm recording. So, but other than that, I hope you guys have a good day, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.